Hello NFL fans. Today's video is going to break down how your team can become part of the NFL's 44%. Now you're wondering, what is the NFL 44%? We're going to discuss that, and we're going to also discuss key statistical indicators that will help your team become part of the 44%. So let's get right to it. As you know, there are 32 teams in the NFL. 32 teams, right? But only 14 teams make the playoffs. And the way this works is they take the division winners from the two conferences. They take 4 division winners, right? So they'll take 4 from the AFC. So last year that was the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and Texans. And then they'll take the 4 division winners from the NFC. That was the Lions, Eagles, Buccaneers, and the Rams. So that gives you 8 teams from each conference because they're the division winners. Then what they do is they take the non-division winners with the best record. All right? So they'll take 3 from the AFC. That's the Chargers, Steelers, and Broncos. And then they'll take 3 from the NFC. Last year that was the Vikings, Commanders, and the Packers. So you're going to get 7 teams from the AFC. You're going to get 7 teams from the NFC. That gives you 14 playoff teams. You divide 14 into 32, and that gives you 44%. So basically what the NFL 44% is are your playoff teams. Now, the reason you watch a 17-game season is because at the end you want your team to be in the playoffs, right? Being in the playoffs means you actually have a chance at winning the Super Bowl, which is the ultimate goal. But first, you got to make the playoffs. Now, what you don't want is being part of the 56%. Basically, those are teams that played a 17-game season. They didn't win their division, and they didn't win enough games to be part of the 44%. And you do not want to be part of the 56%. Teams that have been part of the 56% are the New York Jets, Carolina Panthers, and the Atlanta Falcons. These are the teams with the longest active drought. Longer than 5 years, they have not made the playoffs. So you got the Jets, Carolina Panthers, and the Atlanta Falcons. Again, you don't want to be these guys. And hopefully next year these teams will improve. They got young quarterbacks at the helm. Justin Fields is going on his 3rd team, but hopefully the Jets and the offensive coordinator can get the best out of Justin Fields. And Bryce Young started the season for the Panthers. He got benched midway through the season and finished the season strong. And then Michael Penix Jr. replaced Kirk Cousins at the end of the season. Was up and down towards the end of the season, but I think the Falcons have a bright future. And I think Penix is going to be a good quarterback. Now, like I mentioned before, you don't want to be part of the 56%. You want to be part of the 44%. But there are key indicators that will tell you whether or not you're going to be part of the 44 or the 56. And one of the key indicators is super obvious, but I have to mention it and show you some statistics around that. And that first key indicator is quarterback play, right? So if you have a quarterback performing at a high level, and the way that is rated in the NFL, they use QBR. So as you can see here, Lamar Jackson led the league in QBR. He had a 77.5 QBR rating. Finished second to Josh Allen in the MVP voting. So let's look here. The top 5 quarterbacks in terms of QBR rating. Any player highlighted in black made the playoffs. Any quarterback highlighted in red did not make the playoffs. So if you look here, 4 out of the 5 top quarterbacks in terms of QBR rating, 4 to 5 made the playoffs. And if you just do the top 10, you got 70% made the playoffs. The only 3 that did not was Joe Burrow, Cincinnati, Brock Purdy, San Francisco, and Kyler Murray. are the Cardinals. And then let's just do the top half of the league, right? We're doing the top 15 quarterbacks, 1 through 15. 73% of those quarterbacks made the playoffs. So if you have a quarterback performing at a high level, it increases your odds of becoming part of the 44%. Pretty straightforward, makes sense, right? Let's look at the bottom half of the league. So we're going to do 16 and below. 16 and below. From 16 to 32, only 2 quarterbacks made the playoffs. That was Bo Nix, Denver Broncos. Oh, I'm sorry, 3. Bo Nix, Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson, Pittsburgh Steelers, and C.J. Stroud, the Texans. And if you just do the math on the bottom half, 18% of the quarterbacks between 16 and 32, only 18% made the playoffs. So you want your quarterback performing at a high level. You want your quarterback finishing in the top half in terms of QBR rating. Now that's pretty obvious. That's pretty straightforward. That makes sense, right? Let's take a look at another key indicator. And that is run defense, right? Basically, run defense is stopping the run. This is set up the same way. We're looking at the top 5 teams in terms of run defense. Any team listed in black made the playoffs. And as you can see, all 5 teams made the playoffs. And the top 5 kept teams under 100 yards a game. It's pretty impressive. Let's check the top 10. Top 10, 90% of the teams that led the league in stopping the run made the playoffs. The only one that did not make the playoffs is the Miami Dolphins, and that was basically because they had a quarterback who was out for most of the year. But as you can see here, if you can stop the run, you're in the top 10, it increases your chances of making the playoffs. And in fact, the top 10 teams, they had a winning percentage of 68.6%. That was their winning percentage, and 90% of the teams made the playoffs. So stopping the run is really important. And if we look at the top half, top 15, it's about 66% of the teams, and 80% of the teams in the top half made the playoffs. So stopping the run is super, super important. And then let's just scan the bottom half, right? Any team in red, these teams finished in the bottom half in terms of stopping the run. And as you can see, only 2 teams made the playoffs. The Los Angeles Rams and the Washington Commanders. Commanders made it because they had a quarterback performing at a high level. And I'll probably say the same thing for the Rams, and maybe a weak division for the Rams. But and if you look at the bottom half also, look at the bottom 15, 40% winning percentage. So you don't win a lot of games, and only 12% of the teams made the playoffs. So stopping the run and quarterback play, QBR, is important. And then the final key indicator we're going to discuss is points per game. Now, this is pretty obvious. You give up less points, you give yourself a better chance to win. And so we're going to look at the top 5 in terms of being stingy with points. All of them made the playoffs. Any team highlighted in black made the playoffs. And surprisingly, the Los Angeles Chargers gave up the least amount of points last year, 17.7, which is pretty interesting. But in the top 5, all below 20 points a game. That gives you a good chance of, you score 23, you give up 20, you're going to win the game. So being stingy with points is real important. It's pretty obvious along with quarterback play. But let's check the top 10, 90% of the teams. 90% of the teams in the top 10 in terms of stopping the run, 90% made the playoffs. Only team that did not, again, the Miami Dolphins. They were without a quarterback for most of the year. And then we're going to do the top half, right? So if we look at the top 15 teams, 73% of the teams made the playoff. As opposed to the bottom half, we're going to do 16 and below, 16 to 32. Only 18% of the teams made the playoffs. So if your team is giving up 30 some odd points a game, giving up 25 points a game, it's going to be harder to become part of the 44%. And I think during the year, this is one of the things we're going to have to keep an eye on, right? We're gonna chart this here throughout the year. So this is why I want you guys to subscribe. I want you guys to put comments in there, and I want you guys to put some likes in there. If there's anything you guys want me to discuss during the year, we can discuss it. But we're gonna track these indicators throughout the year to see where your team sits, right? If your team is sitting in the top 10 in terms of not giving up points, and they are stopping the run, and they have a quarterback performing in the top half, there's a good chance they're going to be part of the 44%. So this is one of the reasons I want you guys to subscribe and put your comments in there and your likes. So we're gonna review this throughout the season. We're gonna discuss this and a lot of other things. We're gonna talk about offense, defense. We're gonna go into depth in terms of who's performing at a high level. So hopefully you guys will subscribe, and definitely look forward to talking with you guys this year. So again, the 44% basically are our playoff teams. It's the reason you play a 17-game season, because you want your team to be in the playoffs and have a chance to win a Super Bowl, which is the ultimate goal. It is what we all, invest so much time on Sundays, Thursday nights, Monday nights. It's the reason we buy merch, to support our team. It's the reason we buy tickets to go to the game. We want our team to win a Super Bowl. But to win a Super Bowl, you have to make the playoffs. You have to become part of the 44%. That is the key. That is the goal. It is the reason we watch the games. So now that you guys have an idea in terms of what the 44% is, so you might be weak in one spot, but if you have a quarterback performing at a high level, you can make the 44%. Or you could end up like Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. He had MVP numbers in terms of QBR, touchdown passes, etc., etc. Joe Burrow performed at a high level for the most part. He finished in the top 3. He was third in QBR rating. But their defense was horrible. So there's some give and take in terms of, you can have a quarterback performing at a high level, but if you don't have a defense, you're not going to become part of the 44%. You got Denver Broncos and Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback last year. He finished in the bottom half, right? He finished in the 50s in terms of QBR rating, but they had a solid defense. Defense was solid. Defense kept them in games. And as the season moved on, Bo Nix got better and better in terms of, protecting the ball and also being clutch. I mean, he played better down the stretch. And Denver's going to be a problem next year. Bo Nix got the experience. I can't speak on all 32 NFL teams, but if Denver made some progress, that defense stays the same, and Bo Nix develops this year, Denver's going to be a problem. Are the Chargers going to be only giving up 17 points a game next year? That was one of the reasons they were able to make the playoffs. They only gave up 17 points a game. You score 20 points, you can win some games. So again, these are some of the things. We are going to track this on a weekly basis. So you can get an idea where your team stands or where your team sits in terms of some of these key indicators and some of these statistics. And I'm going to track it all year. Hopefully you guys, like I said, please subscribe to the channel. Please put your comments in there. If there's something you want me to break down, or, in terms of your team, in terms of some stats, let me know. We'll do that. And also put your likes in there. All right, guys, I appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking with you guys this year. Thanks.